Here we go. Hello, beautiful people. Hello, 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 and welcome to this live June 10th, 2021 live broadcast from here in beautiful Sedona, Arizona. My name is Joseph Tittel, aka Spiritman JT, and be sure to subscribe down below. And even if you think you did subscribe, or even if you think you signed up to clicking on the bell, click on all so that you get notifications, double check on that. Because, you know, as many of you may know by now, people mysteriously become unsubscribed from this channel and other channels here on YouTube. So please check that out. Also, a couple other things. Down below, you'll find all the descriptions for all my social media pages, including, you know, Twitter, all those places, along with my stars who shine so brightly on Subscribe Stars Awaken Your Spirit community, where some of my people are hanging out in the Zoom chat for our after chat to talk about tonight's topic. Tonight's topic, as you know, well, the topic kind of shifted a little bit because I got quite a bit of predictions for you, actually, that came up today. But I want to also just take a moment to thank all of you for your love, your support, for subscribing, for your chat cash, things that you send through PayPal, and just all that you do. I couldn't do this work without you, and I love you so infinitely, with infinite love and gratitude. So, predictions and prophecy. Again, I'm Spiritman JT. We're going to be talking about weather, fuel, and power grids. And I know I've talked about this before, but I have alarming information for you, alarming new information. I was going to do weather map scrying, as I told you in my last video, but I'm going to save that one. I do have some weather predictions, but a bunch of new things came through in a different way. But the first thing I wanted to tell you is I've been talking about this power outage, and power outages fluctuating for quite some time. And the amazing unsecure systems that we have, these grids that we have that aren't secure, and how you know that they put this stuff out in front of us, you know, almost to prepare us in some ways. They put stuff out in movies. There was actually one I just saw last night called Awake, and in this Netflix series or movie called Awake, everybody lost power and they weren't able to sleep. Not that it has anything to do with sleep, but again, they just put this out and it's all of America being taken out, their whole power outages, which is interesting. Because again, this is a preparation thing. And this is why I wanted to show you a couple interesting videos today. First, going to the Secretary of Energy. If you haven't seen this, you should see this. You need to see this. This is important to see. The Secretary of Energy. Listen to what she has to say.
Journal that he sees parallels between the challenge posed by these cyber attacks, these ransomware attacks, and 9/11. He's not comparing the loss of life, but in terms of the challenge. You told Congress last month that you think the energy sector needs to do better at defending itself against cyber threats. And just so people understand, most of the energy sector, most of how we get power in this country is the private sector. It's not government. Do you think that adversaries of the United States have the capability right now to shut down the power grid?
Yeah, they do. I mean, I think that there are very malign actors who are trying, even as we speak. There are thousands of attacks on all aspects of the energy sector and the private sector generally. I mean, the meat plant, for example. It's happening all the time. And this is why the private sector and the public sector have to work together. And this is what the president is doing. He's working with our allies. He's working with countries around the world, because other countries, even Russia, they don't want to see their sectors attacked by malign actors, by rogue non-state actors, not to mention state actors. So working with other countries, working with the private sector, working inside of our own government. The president has issued these executive orders to make sure that our own house is in order, making sure that citizens are able to protect themselves. My mother, who's 86 years old, got 2 weeks ago, got a cyber, not a ransomware, but she, was hacked. So the bottom line is we have all.
Hey folks, I just noticed this. Look at the time that this is on the air. 9:11 a.m. 9:11. Could that be a clue? I just happened to see that. I just happened to notice that right up there on the top corner. 9/11. Interesting, right? Let's finish what she's got to say.
Up our game with respect to our cyber defenses. The president is doing that, his executive order. And just to quickly say, on the pipelines, because the pipelines were a concern, obviously, the TSA, which actually regulates the pipelines, has now required the pipelines to report cyber incidents to the federal government so that we at least have intel. But the bottom line is people, whether you're private sector, public sector, whatever, you shouldn't be paying ransomware attacks because it only encourages the bad guys.
And the bad guys come from within, as you know. And they kind of try to blame Russia, but really you can blame China and you can blame everything on the inside of what's happening inside. And this is where I am concerned in telling you this and trying to be as precise as possible to help you to be prepared. Because, this is something that they're planning. This is something that's part of their list of Illuminati tricks in the world. And they're going to start doing this. They already did. You saw the big power outages that happened early in the year, but they're going to do it on a bigger scale. And they're going to do it as a test, leaving it out for a period of time. And they're going to do it as a test, kind of like they did with the big bug of 2020. A test, nothing compared to what they plan to unleash. So I'll go into those predictions in a moment and more information on what I have for you. But for this energy secretary to go out on national television at 9:11 in the morning, which I just kind of find that pretty interesting, actually, to tell us that, our grid is at stake on, that particular news channel, the worst one of all, they're telling you, they're telling you folks, they're telling you. So check out this one, this video. This one's a little bit older, not new like the secretary that I just showed you, but I think it's something important that you need to see and you need to hear. Really important.
Very scary story. If the hackers had access to throw the switch and sabotage our power plants, why didn't they?
Experts have told us to look at this almost like a nuclear deterrent. They kind of want us to know they have this capability, such that, when they intervene in our elections or they do things that we don't like, our capacity to respond to that is hampered by the fact that we know they have this capability to shut down, to cause blackouts in cities, to disrupt, as you said, critical infrastructure.
I mean, imagine if the power went out in the state of Maine in the month of January, all the lives that could be at risk. I know that you interviewed a few top intelligence officials and specifically asked which global threat worried them the most. What is keeping them up at night?
Right, so this is former CIA directors of national intelligence, top White House advisors on national security. We asked all of them, what's the biggest threat? And more than half said a massive cyber attack. David Petraeus compared it to the weapon of mass destruction of cyber attacks. And he referenced this idea of tampering with the electric grid and causing prolonged blackouts that will put lives at risk. That was the number one thing. I think the second most raised issue was the rise of China, which is a huge kind of existential crisis for the U.S. So you put the fact that cyber attacks are above that on the threat scale, and you can tell it's a pretty serious problem.
So you say the rise of China. Talk about where the threats come from specifically, because people think, oh, it's just these hackers. We think they're Russians, but it's broader than that.
Right, and so there are four main cyber adversaries that we're dealing with. Russia is perhaps the most advanced, but China, North Korea, Iran, they're very involved in the cyber arena. And part of the problem here is we don't really have a doctrine for how to deal with this in the way we do in traditional warfare, or even in responding to terrorist incidents. Cyber attacks happen. We don't always detect them right away. Some of them are just as damaging as more traditional attacks.
So that's enough of listening to that. But did you hear what he said about North Korea? And there's an article that I just read, and I probably have it up. I'm not going to go, scatter around. I want to be to the point today. But that satellites that are EMP or whatever satellites connected to North Korea are being seen in the skies. North Korea of all things. Now, keep in mind, I told you last year, over a year ago, probably, that North Korea is now being ran by China, and they're in there. And I wouldn't even doubt that Kim Jong-un is probably dead or in confinement or imprisoned in some way. That's North Korea. going back to these power outages and what the first person was saying, the energy secretary. Remember, she kept saying actors. She kept bringing up the word actors, which I thought was very interesting. She kept saying that in that little speech on CNN. So let me go into some of my predictions and some of the visions that I had. Because folks, this is an attack on slowing us down. And, you know, one of my next videos on my list is about climate change and the next big global house arrest that they're planning. And it's not going to be necessarily due to a bug. It's actually going to be due to climate change. And somebody sent me some stuff last night in my email that I appreciate. So that'll bring me to that topic. But for now, I also wanted to tell you all happy new moon. Today happens to be the new moon here. It was early this morning here in Arizona. We are in a huge rebirth new moon. This is a time to manifest and make things happen, make things possible. So therefore, together, we can hold in the light love for the planet, hold in the light that we're free and that our monetary system is shifted in a way that is abundant for all of us, the ability to be abundant for all of us. No more suppression. We can all do this. It's a powerful, powerful cycle. We had an eclipse today. We had the new moon today. We're slowly coming out of the retrograde direct, but it's going to get intense, as I said in my last videos. So let me go more over to the prediction aspect. So folks, it's not just United States. And going back again, my predictions, it's not just United States. This is going to happen everywhere. But I see grid attacks. And this is how it came to me in my visions, grid attacks, which means, again, somebody intentionally taking out grids. In Australia is number 1 on my list. Canada is number 2. Iran and Pakistan, United Kingdom, Scotland, Ireland, and parts of Africa go to the dark. And I see parts of Africa, and that might be the place where they do the test. You know, one of the big cities in Africa take out their whole power and leave it out. That could be one of their big tests, but I see, you know, that part of the continent of Africa going completely dark. I'm not sure where that is because it's a big continent, but I see part of it going dark and staying dark. When is this happening? Well, keep in mind, and this is really important that you know this, especially in the United States and where the heat's going to be high this year. I told you, we are going to break records like never before. Droughts. I see people in line for water. Which is in my lists here in front of me, which I'll get to if there's any more to that. But so the heat is going to cause blackouts. So not all these blackouts are happening are going to be attacks or done on purpose. Only on purpose to conserve energy for the companies that are making the money, of course. So yeah, it is purposely in that aspect. But you got to keep in mind not to go into fear when your power goes out, and be prepared on extremely hot days to make sure your house is cool. You know, and it's actually cheaper and more efficient to keep your air on at night and keep your house cool as possible instead of letting your house get warm and then turn the air on. It actually, you waste more energy and it takes longer and you never cool your house down. So take those precautions. Have gas or propane, have a grill or a little cooking stove for camping, to have all these things ready, because the summertime is just a test. What's coming up in the end of this month into July, especially, probably August, but then we got the winter months where they're really going to hit us, and we're not near winter. I'm not even going to talk about that in my predictions and visions for the winter yet, but right now. So I see those countries having problems. China, North Korea, and even Iran are responsible and will experience attacks themselves in retaliation. So again, China and North Korea, we already know China, but North Korea is responsible, and even Iran are responsible, which gives me the vision now as I'm talking about it. I'm going to type this in here so I have these notes to go back on. I see problems with Israel and their power, and power outages that I believe they're going to blame on Hamas. Even though it's directly coming from Iran. Whether it's Hamas in Iran, I don't know, but that's the vision I just had. So again, China, North Korea, and Iran are responsible for these. And then, you know, Israel is going to get involved later on, you know, earlier next year with the United States with playing with people's infrastructures, experience attacks themselves in retaliation. So once you see things happening in China and North Korea or Iran or wherever you see things happening with their grid after something happens here or in Canada, then you'll know who's responsible, who they think's responsible. Because if you listen to what that guy just said, they can't track it. They can't track it. They have no idea. It's easy for them to come in and do that. So Russia is not responsible, but will get involved if they keep getting the blame. So if they keep giving blame to Russia, Russia's going to get involved. And you don't want them to, because they're even more powerful and they'll take it all out. They are testing us, folks. They are testing us while letting us know their actual plan to take out our power, our grids, and place the blame on someone else. Don't this remind you of something? The time, that video, that date, 9/11. What happened on 9/11? They infiltrated a false flag event to cause a war. So what a better way to blame somebody to try to cause a war? And that's the direction that they're thinking of heading in. They have a couple different plans on the table. And eventually they'll activate all of them. Hopefully not at once. July, the heat in major cities, including Los Angeles, New Orleans, New York, Phoenix, Detroit, and Philadelphia. So those were the ones that popped out the most with the major heat. So these are the cities that are going to be the most vulnerable when it comes to your power grid, folks. So prepare. If you're in LA, New Orleans, New York, Phoenix, Detroit, Philadelphia, all those places, especially those places. And then parts of Florida and, of course, Texas. Texas, they're going to hit Texas again. So I see major pipeline blowing up, like blows open. And it feels like to me a false flag event. And I don't know if it blows from an earthquake. And again, they can make earthquakes happen. And maybe that's the false flag, maybe not the oil spill, but the earthquake. Or is it actually set off with explosives? That's what I could not tell. Almost like it blew up. Which if it was an earthquake, it wouldn't blow up the way the vision is that I saw. I wasn't sure where this is, but it makes me think more towards the West Coast in the upper West. So maybe United States, between the United States and Canada, up in that area, coming down from Canada. It seems like it's something coming down from Canada, or that we pipe up into Canada. I'm thinking more likely coming down, because they already affected the East Coast's gas lines. Why not affect the West Coast next? I see people lined up for water. I smell sewage, and I see breakout of like a disease and this rash, and people have these rashes on them, and I see people lined up in the emergency room, and it feels to me like this is coming from the sewage, from this water. And I don't know if it's referencing to floods of some sort, but I just remember I smelled it in the sludge, and it was just gross. And I saw the rashes on people and people's eyes blowing up, all red. I have that vision now. I don't know where this is, but it seems to me like it's kind of like south, hot, swampy, like kind of like the buttes of New Orleans, or whatever you call them, bayous. So I see people lining up for water. And I've had this vision before, and I've told you this earlier in the year in predictions. June 14th, Flag Day jumps out at me pretty strongly. That's the first day of my vacation. Can't wait. But June 14th, Flag Day. Think about United States and America, and something happening on Flag Day that is in reference to our flag being ripped and torn. So like I see Flag Day, I see the flag being raised up on the pole, but then I see it torn, kind of like the torn flag of 9/11. So something about Flag Day. Major problems for Texas and weather-related power outages will hit there again. Some of this will be because of weather. Again, weather that was manipulated through their weather manipulation sources. So it's not necessarily that they're purposely, kind of like they did with the cold and the ice. It was a weather system that they purposely sent in there to take out their power. Problems I see in the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico seems, as I talk about this to you now, I see the waters boiling up in the Gulf of Mexico. And I don't know what that's symbolic of, actually. I just see waters boiling up and boiling up. And I don't see anything coming up to the surface but steam. So I'm going to say the heat's on down there. But also water boiling up could be like a toxic spill of some sort. But a lot had to do with weather-related stuff to me. So the boiling up of water could even be an earthquake that causes the water to boil up like that. But I've seen a lot of different problems in the Gulf of Mexico, all down there in Florida, Texas, and that whole little panhandle down there, especially with weather. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where the big hurricane comes in this year, because I see hurricane. That's the biggest hurricane, something you would see in a friggin' movie. One that just maybe we haven't seen in our lifetimes before. It's literally like two storms that grow together and a third storm comes in with it. And that's the kind of the vision I have. It's like one big storm and this other storm gets sucked into it. It's like this storm sucks this storm into it, and then a third one meets up with it, or the third one comes in near it. As it's coming across, there's the third one. And the third one may cross over the big one. That's the vision I have now. I don't know if this is going out to sea. One of them's hitting, because if I see this big storm going across the Atlantic, and then this other one come across in between like that, I would think that that one's definitely going to hit this one here that curves away. But I don't see it. Once it curves in front of this storm, this big double storm, it disappears and this storm becomes bigger. So it looks like East Coast to me, where I'm looking at in this vision. This is, again, a vision I'm having now as I talk to you. That's why I love doing this stuff live. I see checkpoints being put up. Really creepy checkpoints. I had visions of this, like as if I was driving and being stopped at a checkpoint in places. First, Australia, which is probably, I already got that it's already happening. I don't know if it's true, but if Spirit said it's already happening, but on a different, higher scale in Australia, on a stricter scale of not letting people out of their towns or anything. Very strict checkpoints in the United States, especially. Texas, California, Arizona, and even Florida and California. Texas, California, Arizona, and Florida all came up as these places where checkpoints come in. So I see problems with oil refineries, big problems with oil refineries. But are they really problems, folks? Or are they caused? That's the next big false flag thing. There's going to be 3 in all. Problem with oil refineries, 3 in all. 1 is a false flag hack attack. And that is my notes. That's the vision I had today. Problem with oil refineries, 3 in all. 1, a false flag hack attack. I see a refinery spill in a fire, polluting a waterway. And I see that being a problem and them trying to cover it up, but it comes out to the surface. And now, again, I have another vision of people lining up for water. So that's a separate event, I would say. That something with an oil refinery and water or oil refinery gas going into the water that affects people, that they have to get bottled water. I see an oil barge stuck and it flips over, causing oil slicks. And then I saw those big tubes that they put out to catch the oil. But at the same time, this oil barge that seems to be stuck and then ends up flipping over, and that could be them trying to get it unstuck. But also I see collisions off the West Coast where the ports are for the United States. Because a lot of you don't know, the shortages of not having people to bring this stuff in at our ports. And the ports, outside the ports, all these boats that usually only have to wait maybe a day or two at the longest are there for 2 weeks waiting to bring their stuff up. You know, a regular freight barge thing to ship it was $1,800. It's now $3,500. So I see collisions happening. I see a lot of ruckus happening in this port. The big one, whatever the big one is in California off the coast. Big problem with that. I have a vision of more looting and rioting that gave me a flashback to the summer of 2020. I don't know what this is in reference to. I don't know where it is. It looks like a city. I'm sure I'll get more of that in my future videos, future predictions. A large factory explosion that reminds me of a sugar factory. Remember that sugar factory blew up, and a lot of us thought sugar blow up? Really? Apparently it's very explosive. It reminds me of that for some reason. So I don't know if it's another sugar factory. And Texas popped out in my mind with that. So I believe that could be Texas, which also brought me to the vision of terror attacks on our goods. So, like, again, terror attacks on our goods. So they're trying to already stop our goods. Our goods are already on the coast, all sitting out there in the ocean, waiting to come into our country. You know, 100 containers come in a day and only 40 go out. That's how much stuff we get in this country from other countries. But I see an attack on goods, and I don't know what that means. I just got that vision, terror attack on goods. And it made me think of like blowing up a port, for example. That would be a terror attack on goods. And that could be exactly what it is. And then again, I see freight ships collide, causing an oil slick. So that's another one. And ships firing missiles was the last thing I wrote in my notes as I was talking to my people. Subscribe stars shine brightly in my Zoom right now. But yeah, so that's what I have for you folks. These are the newest predictions. And all my predictions are copyrighted material. Everything that I do is now copyrighted material. And I thank you all so much for joining me today. Happy new moon. Celebrate. Remember to celebrate and manifest, make things happen. This is the time to make it happen. Yes, we're still in an intense energy, a really intense energy. Past 2 weeks, I mean, cuckoo birds went cuckoo, more cuckoo than cuckoo. It brought out emotions. And that's the thing, when people don't work on their emotions, when they come up during these cycles, it brings out disease, illness, craziness, just brings out the worst in us. You have to work through those emotions. You have to filter through. You have to do creative, positive things. We're in the new moon, which is manifest, but we're still in that retrograde energy, which is getting rid of, letting go of, physically, energetically, emotionally. So work on yourself. Do it. It's worth it. It's worth it. And don't forget to subscribe down below. Click the all, visit my subscribe star, awaken your spirit community. And thank you all for whatever, anybody that may have chat cashed in, let's see, Lauren, thank you, Lauren, and who else? Thank you, Web Surf Guy. He's the Web Surf Guy. And anybody else that I may not see, thank you for your love and support. Thank you for joining me. Be sure to subscribe. And remember, more importantly than anything, celebrate life, celebrate you, celebrate the amazing you that you are, and celebrate the amazing flow of abundance, joy, and happiness, miracles and blessings that flow into your life. The more you do, the more blessings and miracles you receive. The more you bitch and complain, the more the universe is going to give you to bitch and complain about. So why bother? Celebrate life, celebrate you. Love you all, lots and lots, with infinite love and gratitude. Have a beautiful evening, and I'll see you soon in the next stream. Night, everybody. Boom.